Après le succès, la polémique et la controverse, Sound of Freedom est enfin sorti sur nos écrans en France et j'en parle tout de suite avec le réalisateur Alejandro Monteverde.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Monteverde and you're watching Jonah Lee TV. I am the writer and director of Sound of Freedom.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Alejandro, thank you for your time, and I'm happy. I'm glad to have you on. You know, Sound of Freedom is a massive worldwide hit. You know, and we're glad that finally it's available in France. And congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, congratulations. You know, it is a low budget movie, you know, but with a big narrative, you know, an amazing true story, you know. Tell me about, you know, the birth of the movie, you know, the whole process, you
know. It all started around 7 years ago. I was watching a news report on child trafficking.
Yeah.
And it really shook my soul because I didn't know that this was happening. And I told to myself, I have to do something about this. And the only thing I know what to do is to write. So first I decided to write a screenplay that shine a light on this darkness, to create awareness on it. To tell you the truth, I never thought it was gonna be made, just because the subject matter is so hard to digest. So I started writing a fiction. And 3 months into it, they introduced me to Tim Ballard, and I wanted to meet him just to get more information. You know, he's an expert. He was a former federal agent working on crimes against children. So my intention was just to meet him, to download more information from an expert, part of my research. But then I found out that his life story, his personal life story, surpassed my fiction, and that's when I changed directions into being a fictional story based on a true story.
That's amazing. And I saw that, and I don't want to spoil anything, but at the end of the movie, you know, during the credit, there's a ending message from Jim, but it took 5 years to release this actual movie. Why? Whatever the controversy, or, you know, I don't give a, you know, about conspiracy, but why 5 years, you know, to finally saw your movie on big screen, you know?
I think it was a couple of different factors.
Yeah.
The main one was that it's a very difficult film to market just because of the subject matter. So it was not, you know, the studios it was not very clear how would they market a film like this. In the beginning, we did the film with Fox International. It's part of 20th Century Fox, but they have a division called Fox International. We did it with them, but then the movie the studio was bought by Disney.
Yeah.
And the film kind of got lost in translation, you know, it kind of got lost in the limbo. And then we were able to put a little bit of funds together and buy the film back. And when we got the film back, then COVID hits. And then COVID didn't make it easy for a film like this because the you know, the sentiment was that audiences wanted to watch happy comedies, happy films, because they had just, you know, they were going through a pandemic, right?
Yeah,
And
quarantine and everything. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. The motive to making this movie was very pure. It was very simple. It's let's make a movie that creates a space for a social dialogue, a meaningful conversation about something that is very important because,
Yeah.
you know, talking about it creates awareness, and awareness may lead to change, you know. So that was it. That's all we wanted to do. And, you know, some days I thought the film was never going to see the light of the day. However, on the other side, we did do a lot of private screenings, and I was seeing how the audiences were reacting. I mean, the
Yeah,
audiences
reaction.
were.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? The audiences are loving this film. If we could find somebody who believes in the movie, and that's when we met the Harmon brothers, who founded Angel Studios, and you know, I believe the world belongs to those who people call crazy, and people call them crazy when they decided to launch the movie on the 4th of July. You know, that date, it's only reserved for the big blockbuster franchise films with hundreds of millions of dollars for marketing. And we came out the same day as Indiana Jones. And I think for that weekend, we were the #1 movie in the box office. So
That's
it was
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations again. Yeah. You know what? In France, people thought that Mel Gibson was the director. You know, there was like researching it on the internet. What is this movie? Who is the director? You know, but actually, so he's not the director. You know, you are the director and the writer. Now we know. You know, but actually, he's involved. You know, as one of the executive producers. You know, how it was to collaborate with such amazing, you know, actors and a person like Mel Gibson. Yeah, how it was to
Well,
collaborate with him.
Mel Gibson is one of the greatest directors alive.
Yeah, he is.
He's an amazing director. It started very simple. I needed to take 10 minutes off the film. And I asked Jim Caviezel, who's the lead actor of the film, if he could put me in the room with Mel Gibson to work together and see if he could help me to shave 10 minutes out of the film. And that's how I ended up in the same room with Mel, and we watched the movie a couple of times, and he helped me to trim the film, and then he got a little more involved until he became, you know, part of the journey. You know, this movie, it's a journey, and I always say there's two kinds of movies: the ones that I want to make and the ones that I'm called to make. This was definitely a calling. It was not a movie that I woke up one day and said to myself, I want to make a movie on child trafficking. It was more the movie that I felt a calling that I had to do something about this, you know? I'm not saying I am good people. I'm trying to be good every day. You know, I'm full of flaws, but I try to do the best I can. And for me, I say, well, now that I know about this, what can I do? And I just decided to write, but I just feel as a society, you know, something that we can do, but it's just to talk about it, like what we're doing, you and I right now, just to talk about it, you know, just a conversation leads to awareness. And to me, that's the beginning of change, to be aware. How can you change something if you don't know it's happening?
Yeah, to know about it. Yeah, of course. You know what, Alejandro, the casting is amazing. You know, Jim Caviezel first as Tim Ballard, Myra Sorvino, Bill Kemp, you know, he's amazing in his part. Amazing. Yeah, Kurt Fuller and Jose Zuniga, and the kids. Man, let me tell you something about the kids, you know, because, you know, it is something that means to me. That's why I'm happy to have this talk with you, you know. And, you know, that how many say that, you know, it's not that the movie is like, there's no graphic violence, you know, but it's so emotional. It's all in the eyes, you know, and it caught me, you know, a lot. So the kids like Crystal Aparicio as a Rocio and Lucas Avila as Miguel. You know what? I was, because I watched the movie last night and I had tears
Yeah.
in my eyes. Yeah, really. It's the just the first scene. It's I don't want to spoil anything. But you're going deep. In the subject. The voice child, the singing. The first children abduction. It's the operating mode. And it's devastating. It's horrible. Because it's such simple as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, how it's possible? And last night was a tough night because you realize, and thank you for that. It's just amazing. So, tell me about the casting.
Well, was the casting was also really interesting because I realized that the film was going to cast itself. All my job was just to identify who the movie was calling. And I'll give you a perfect example, 2 examples of 2 people on the cast. Well, everybody, pretty much. Bill Camp, everybody. Like, for example, for the role of Bill Camp, I offered it to somebody else. The person said yes, then time didn't work out because he had another project. Then all of a sudden, they tell me, hey, what about Bill Camp? Bill Camp right away, he's another project, it kind of moved, and he had his window of opportunity was perfect. So it was not necessarily the character that I had picked in the beginning. It was the character that the film picked. Same thing with Rocio, Cristal, who played Rocio. I had already casted another girl completely. And when I was doing chemistry tests between the other actress and Lucas, which was plays, the little
Brother.
kid, the little brother Miguel. I was just doing chemistry tests, and when I put them together, something was off, and I said, you know what? Can I bring back Cristal just to see how they feel like brother and sister? And when I brought back Cristal, boom, it was magical.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So, it was hard, but I had to kind of take the role and switch roles. And, it's really hard sometimes when you give the role to somebody and then
And you have to choose. Yeah, of course.
You have to kind of take it back. I mean, I was on the process of casting, nothing was finalized. Same thing with Jim Caviezel, the lead actor. For me, it was very important that I found an actor that looked exactly like Tim Ballard. So I was looking for somebody who looked completely different physically. Jim Caviezel has, more darker hair. He's taller. I was looking for somebody who was really blonde and a little shorter. So I was choosing completely other actors. And then one day, Tim Ballard asked me, you never asked me who I want to play me. I said, well, who do you want to play you? And he said, Jim Caviezel. And I was like, well, but I love Jim Caviezel. He's one of the greatest actors, but, he doesn't look like you. And he said, well, just meet with him. So I met with him, and next thing I knew, Jim started crying because this subject is very personal to him. Yeah. He had already, adopted 3 kids himself, and he was very, very well aware of these horrors. So I let the film kind of guide. The movie became like a driving force, and all I had to do was, I think it was Cindy Lumet who said that, a lot of times the job of a director is not to get in the way, and the film will tell you that. And this was one of them.
Yeah, to let things go, right? And what was the most, particular moments, or best moment filming, maybe because something intense or emotional, I know about the necklace story, that you filmed in the actual port, do you have like a behind the scene or something very intense? I guess everything was intense, shooting this movie, but maybe something like you remembered,
I mean, everything was very, very intense. Just to give you an idea, for me, it was really important the opening shot. The camera going through the window, and we did it with a like old school with a zip line, and we spent, when you're shooting an independent film, if you don't finish one day, that can cost you your entire film, right? So we tried that shot for an entire day. I mean, the entire day. And it wasn't working. Something was wrong. The camera was moving. The camera wasn't going through the door. It was all practical, And it was, for me, it was really important because it was the opening shot of the film. And I wanted to tell the audience that they were watching a movie. I didn't want to make a realistic film because otherwise it was going to be very hard to digest. I wanted to make a kind of like a very operatic, more like to remind the audience to use beauty to depict this horror, to kind of use a cinematic language to continue to remind the audience that they were watching a movie. So the opening shot will at least start helping to set up that language. It's a camera that comes from outside and enters into the personal life of this little girl. And it wasn't working. It was not working. It was not working. The whole day was not working. And I was very, very heartbroken. And I remember we wasted the whole day and we didn't get the shot. And now we'll put us behind schedule.
Yeah.
I come in the next day trying to figure out what's going to be the opening of the film. I come in around 5:36 in the morning. And I noticed that the guys that were working, they didn't sleep all night. I found them all passed out on the set. So they never went home. And when I entered, they all wake up and they were like, we made it work. And these are people that are, I don't know them. They knew about the importance of the film and they were willing to give their own time because they were not getting paid to work all through the night. They just took this film very personal.
Yeah.
And everybody gave 150%. And for me, that it was very moving just to see that, these 5 or 6 technicians stay all night until they made it work. So first thing in the morning, boom, we got the shot. And then at the end, we got the shot in reverse, which is, I don't want to give the movie away, but it's the end of the movie. And as we're coming back out, the sun just pops. You can't plan that.
You can't.
Yeah. I call that the kiss of God. It was a kiss because you cannot plan that. Like if you do it 1 second later, the sun will. We capture exactly when the sun and the camera were perfectly choreographed. So things like that is what I call divine accidents, miracles, and it was just the movie was filled with moments like that.
That's amazing. And I love this shot, by the way. So now I understand how and why I love this shot so much.
Yeah,
you know what?
It was practical. It was really difficult, because it was not done in CG. It was all done old school with a zip line. You throw the camera and then somebody catches it and gets it in. It was.
But you know what, Alejandro? In this area of CGI, I love so much practical, that's why, I love things in practical and we can feel it in your movie, This movie is a cry from the heart and a call to justice and freedom. So thank you for that. And Alejandro, I just can say thank you for your work and for this movie.
And I want to ask everybody that is listening or watching to, this is a film. Still, even though it's performing so well and is number one in all Latin America and was number one in the US, it's the only way for a film like this to succeed is for people to create a movement through the word of mouth. That's the only marketing we have. I doubt that you will see a billboard on the street. Our billboards is the people, it's the audience.
Yeah,
it's definitely not the critics. It's the audience. The audience are the ones that are promoting this film. So I just invite everybody to come and judge the film for themselves.
By themselves.
I don't mind people judging the film, but to judge it for themselves. Don't let other people say, well, I heard these and I heard all these crazy controversies. It's like, go see the film and you make your own opinion, which is, it's very important, that we as a society have an individual opinion. This whole collective thinking, it's very dangerous because it stops, inspiring people to think for themselves. So I invite everybody to come see the film and be part and join this movement. It has become a movement, an international movement.
It is. You know what? It's important, like you said, that each and every one of us has their own opinions, But with cinema, with its magic, we can see a movie as a community. And that's why I love it, That's amazing. Thank you again, Alejandro. And I'm sure that the movie will be a huge success here in France. And I hope to see you soon when you'll be there. And thank you again for,
and please
thank you
tell
again
everybody,
for your time, my friend. Thank you for your
we
work.
need to be number one in France. We need to be number one in France.
You will. We will.
Okay.
Bye, man.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.